welcome to my channel or welcome back to my channel. My name is Mouse, sometimes Andy. I talk about books and book related things, and today I am talking about a childhood reread, which was Young Wizards by Diane Duane. I believe that it is important to note that I really genuinely listened to these on a big stack of CDs that I carried around with me, because this was before I had a media player of any kind. I would listen to them on the swing set. I mean a huge stack of CDs, and I comfort listened to these before I even knew what that meant, all of the time, constantly. So yeah, these are very near and dear to my heart, which made it a little bit horrifying to reread it, and like I was terrified that I was going to reread it and not enjoy it, but I actually did enjoy it pretty decently. I did not read, so there is 11 books in total. I did not read Games Wizards Play. It came out in 2016. I didn't read it just because I got kind of burned out on the series because of how I had read the series, but that's my bad. I might read it later, but regardless. This series follows Nita and Kit primarily, and then it sometimes also follows Nita's little sister. And Nita and Kit are just these two 11-year-olds, both of which have found So You Want to Be a Wizard and taken the oath and are now wizards, and they have to have journeys, basically, tests of their skills. And Nita's really good with nature and Kit's really good with like electronics and stuff. Not electronics, metals and that kind of thing. Kit also has a dog that I'm obsessed with, and there was a dog death in one of the books, but then Diane Duane made up for it by bringing the dog back in and making him capable of not, so he wasn't brought back physically, but he was brought back spiritually and able to basically be in any dog in the entire world. So that's one way to handle pet death. I think there were just a few books that I didn't love, and part of it's just because I thought it was slow and I was bored, and then the other part of it is like there is a wizard who definitely has autism, and that book had to be rewritten because the first version of it was not good. I don't know if I had the rewrite or the original version when I read it. Regardless, I didn't enjoy the way that they handled that situation. It just kind of made me uncomfortable, and I just didn't like the languaging around it. And I understand that it wasn't like super modern day writing, but I just didn't love or appreciate that so much. I did really like the incorporation of Nita's little sister and computers, so she's really good at like computer wizardry, and her whole thing was like digitizing the like handbook that they have, because the handbook like writes itself for you as you like create spells and that kind of thing, and I really liked that. What I struggled with also sometimes, I guess, is so the book's characters grow up as its readers grew up, which Diane Duane did a pretty good job of, and I think that more authors should try to do that, like where your characters grow up with you. I think that a lot of authors failed to do that, and even having reread some young adult books where, you know, your characters are 17, 18 and they don't mature any from any of the things that have happened to them, which is astonishing to me because the things that happen to them are kind of traumatizing and I think would affect the person at hand. But with this, like, Nita's mother passes away, and it really changes the way that Nita is as a character, and yeah, that makes sense to me. And Nita and Kit become teenagers and are in high school and are struggling with their relationship with one another because do they have a crush on one another or not? And it's not an annoying romance because it was pretty realistic to the way that teenagers deal with these emotions. I think that it was a little bit frustrating sometimes that Nita's little sister, I would forget how old she was because she was written to seem more mature than Nita, but she was the little sister, and that doesn't track so much for me. All in all, the book series was really good, and I enjoyed it way more than I expected to. I believe they start as middle grade books and then are young adult books, but I'm not 100% sure about that. And they also do increase in length over time, which again I think is really well done. I know that we're gonna talk about it. I know that the Harry Potter books do this. Their characters age up, the character personalities changes, and the book lengths change, so that essentially this book series grows up with its readers. And supposedly the book series did a really good job of that. I don't know, I've never read them, and I'm not going to, because J.K. Rowling can suck off that. Anyway, I think if you were gonna introduce children to a book series about wizards now, I think this would be a good alternative. A much better alternative, actually. Also, Kit is Latinx, and Kit's family is Latinx, and that's really cool. That representation in that kind of era, I feel like is not that common. So there are a lot of things that Diane Duane did really, really well. There are, of course, some PC things that Diane Duane did not do really well, but also I always have to consider the fact of when these books were published and then written, and take that into consideration, because there were some things that they weren't good, but it wasn't mainstream to know that they weren't good, and so I have to consider that sometimes. There are some books that just have like weird inherent racism or sexism that is very hard to look over and be like, well, I didn't know better, but like, you did. Weirdo. Like, there's just some underlying stuff that's kind of hard to read, but I think that Diane Duane did a really fantastic job with this series. I do want to read Wizards at War, or Games Wizards Play, eventually before the end of the year. I just don't know when I will get around to it. But because it came out in 2016, it just really seems like something that could come out really good. So here's hoping. I highly recommend this series, honestly, as long as you do remember when it was written and take that into consideration, and then some of the trigger warnings, you know, pet death, friend death, parent death, war, straight up wars, the powers that be and how they are both good and evil, and how they are entwined in all of history is kind of interesting. There are points where it feels like there's a little bit of religious underground work there, and I think that's strange, but overall, a very solid book, and I think that book series, and I think that people should read them. I highly recommend them, actually. So let me know if you're going to check out those books. They are on Scribd, actually. All of them are on Scribd, so if you want to read those, you can click the link down below and get a free month of Scribd. If you don't want to do that, that's also fine. Your local library probably has them, because they are very old books, and they, I think, were pretty mainstream at some point. But I do recommend them to anybody who wants to read them, or if you want a good wizards book for a kid in your life, I think that that's a good book to start with, because the books will grow up with them. So there are spin-offs also, apparently, but I have not read them, so I cannot speak to those. Feline Wizards, I think is what it's called. I haven't read them, can't speak about them, so don't ask me. Let me know if you enjoyed this video, and if you didn't, let me know what I can do to make it better. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share if you did like it. I will see you guys again on Thursday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, and Tuesday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Drink your water, take your meds, take care of yourselves. Okay, thanks, bye.